Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I wanted to share this frame design that I found on Pinterest and show you how you can create this design yourself. And the techniques that we'll use for it can also be applied to a lot of different things. This is a nice design, because it takes care of the problem that you often have with multiple openings of having awkward spaces, especially with an oval. This design adds interest to what would otherwise be empty mat space with an open V-groove and elements merged with it. And those elements also tie into the delicate detailing on the frame very nicely. So let's take a look at how this is done. Okay, so we'll start by laying out the openings. But since there are 12 different elements, the three ovals, the three open V grooves, and the decorative element on top and the bottom of each of those, that's a lot of things to keep track of. So what we'll do instead is just lay out one opening, get that created, and copy it and paste it twice. That'll save us a lot of time and heartache. So let's just assume that these are 4x6s, and we'll start by laying out an oval, and we'll just do a 2-inch border all the way around, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it will end up working out nicely. Okay, so there we go. And we've got a 3/16 reveal on the bottom mat. And let's go ahead and add a V groove. And we'll just start with 1 inch just to begin with, and we'll take it from there and see what looks good. We'll change the V groove to an oval by going to Properties and selecting the oval template there. And to modify it, I'll want to attach it to the opening. And this will allow me now to change the distance, bring it in a little bit, and then open it up and create an open V groove. And really, this is just kind of a matter of, does it look right? Does it look good? Am I happy? Rather than worrying whether it should be 5/16 or 3/8, just kind of whatever looks good, really. Okay, so that looks pretty good there, I think. So let's now add those decorative little elements on the top and the bottom. And those are just standard cut art. And for this one, I'm going to use this little cross design here. This one's pretty nice, versatile. I like to use this on a lot of designs like this where I'm merging it. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is make it quite a bit larger, and I'm going to drag it out onto the mat so it doesn't get lost. Otherwise, it's really easy to get it under the opening, and you'll have a hard time tracking it down. And it automatically centers, and I'm just dragging it down about where I want to have it. And from there, I'm just going to use the up and down arrow keys to make some fine adjustments. All right, that looks good there. So another time, I'm going to Control C, Control V to paste. That way I know that it's exactly the same size. And I'm going to come down here, and again, it'll snap to the center. And I'll just use the up and down keys to make the adjustment until I get it where I want it. And actually, I'm not real worried about making sure that these are out the same distance from the V groove. And in fact, with this design, I think it looks a little better for it to be a little bit further out on the bottom. Okay, now I need to select both of these little crosses, so I'm holding down the Shift key and clicking on those and on the V groove. Now, when I go to Advanced, I can click on Group Selection, and it merges them together and gets rid of the excess little bits of the cross. Okay, there we are. And I'll go ahead and turn on the dynamic outsides so that my size can change as I need it. And I'm going to just select everything and do a Control C and a Control V. There we go. And since everything is selected, both of these elements now, the open V groove and the oval, I can go ahead and drag these up, and you see that they're centered with each other now. And I'll scoot that over until the open V grooves overlap just about as much as they can. Okay. Now I'm going to Control V again to get a third one. I'll do the same thing. I'll line them up, center them with each other, and scoot it over until they're overlapped. Okay. Now that's a pretty decent design right there as it is, but we want them to be staggered. So probably the easiest thing to do is use the down arrow key to move them. And you just have to keep track of how many times you've used that key, because it moves it down a 1/16 of an inch at a time. So just literally count out. Oops. Okay. All right, let's hit the undo because I didn't have both of those selected. I need to select both the oval and its accompanying V groove. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so I counted out 12, so that is 3/8 of an inch difference. And I'll, oops, see, there we go again. Make sure your oval and the V groove are both selected, and I'm going to drag those down until they're centered on that next opening to its left. And then same thing, 12 clicks down, 3/8 of an inch. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good there. Okay, so now the last thing to do is to merge these open V grooves together, just the way I did this. So the easiest thing to do is Control A to select everything, and then we're already on the Advanced tab, so we click Group Selection, and there we go. That's it, ready to go. Now it did, with the dynamic outsides on, it did add a bit more matte width as I move things around, and it's probably not too bad, but I'm going to go in and go to Edit and check the borders. And okay, it moved just a little bit, so I'm just going to make those 2 inches all the way around. There we go. And 2 inches is a pretty narrow mat. It's not nearly the generous proportion that we normally would like. But with this sort of design, you end up with a lot of empty area here. And there's plenty going on, so having a slightly narrower mat is not going to be too bad at all, and it's a little bit more in proportion with this sort of dainty, elegant sort of mat that we have here. This technique can also be used on other mat openings, of course, not just an oval. Started here with a rectangular opening, and let's do something very similar. We will go to the Openings tab here, making sure that we've got the opening selected. We'll add a V groove and say 3/4 of an inch as a starting point, and then go to Properties. Attach it to the opening there. And anything other than a 0 value for that V groove width will create an open V groove. And that looks pretty good there. So I'll just draw a box around both of those to select both of them, and Control C and Control V to copy and paste. And then I'll do that one more time and get all 3 of those and the accompanying V groove laid out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the middle one here, and again, make sure you've got both the opening and its V groove selected. So I'm just going to put it right there. It's going to align the top of the V groove on that. It's going to align with the opening right there. And whoops, thank goodness for the undo button. Shift and click to select both of those. And there we go. And I'm going to scoot that over just a hair more. All right, looks good. And Control A will select everything. That just makes it quick and easy. And now that I have everything selected, click on Group Select, and it merges those V-grooves all together. One last note on this design. How cute would it be to frame 3 kids' pictures like this, but use a white mat on the outside and then 3 different primary colors for those panels on the inside. To do that, you would cut your mat first and then go back and select everything and click Ungroup Selection. That will allow you to remove the 2 extra openings along with their V-grooves, leaving just the one behind, and then click Dynamic Outside so that it will shrink the mat so you can use a smaller piece of mat board, and then cut that 3 times using the 3 different colors. So that's about all I've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in again, and to see more content like this, be sure to click the subscribe button and the little bell to be notified when new videos are put up.